Hey people, it's Sharp, and this will be Birthsigns tier list for the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. So before we start to assign tiers to any of them, I wanted to talk quickly about some terms regarding this. So Birthsign is a bonus that you start at the start of the game that's gonna be active through the entirety of the game. Now some of these bonuses are flat attribute bonuses like the lady or the lover. Others provide power or a spell. So the difference between power and a spell, because all of these spells or power from the Birthsign are gonna have 100% cast chance regardless of your skills in magic. So the only difference between power and a spell is that a spell can be cast any time of the day as long as you have mana for it, magicka in Morrowind, and the power can only be cast once per 24 hours in game time, but it doesn't require you to have magicka. It's free to cast basically. Okay, so the first Birthsign is going to be the Apprentice. Now what Apprentice does, it provides 1.5 multiplier to your magicka. So in case you have 100 magicka normally, with this Birthsign you are going to have 250. It comes with a downside of weakness to magicka of 0.5. Now what this means is basically any spell effect that has magicka as the attribute will hit you with 50% increased efficiency basically. So if you were to be hit with damage health 10, you're gonna take 15 damage instead. Now, it's not such a bad thing because the spell effects that come from magicka are not really that dangerous, and very few enemies in the game actually use it where it would be dangerous. Now 1.5 magicka bonus is a huge bonus. It's second after Atronach, the biggest bonus in the game, and this makes this sign very strong. You can also consider picking Breton, which is gonna completely offset the weakness to magicka with their innate 50 resistance, and pretty much you can run like a free bonus character. Breton Apprentice is a very good choice. Now for the sign, I'm gonna put this in A tier. And now we arrive at the Atronach. I mentioned it before, this gives you 2.0 magicka bonus. So if you were to start with 100 magicka, you're gonna start with 300 with this one. Plus it gives you spell absorption 50 points, and that means that any spell that would hit you, 50% of the time it can heal your magicka instead. Now this is important because this comes with the downside of stunted magicka. What stunted magicka does, it basically means you cannot recover your magicka through natural means, so that would be resting or just waiting in the game. The only way you can recover magicka is precisely through the spell absorption or through the use of magicka potions or any other consumables. Now 2.0 bonus to magicka, the biggest in the game, nothing comes close. Plus the spell absorption that works even for warrior characters. Well, basically you can run it with like a warrior that doesn't care about magicka at all, and this is still going to be very powerful. And stunted magicka is easily offset through both the spell absorption and just in gameplay you have a lot of ways to recover your magicka. You can either buy the mana potions at the vendor, or you can craft them yourself with the use of alchemy. Now Atronach is widely considered the best Birthsign in the game, and this is also why I'm going to put this in S. I completely agree with this. This is by far the best Birthsign. Is easily, I would even consider it broken. It's like too strong. It makes other Birthsigns irrelevant. Now for the lady. Lady gives you 25 endurance and 25 personality. It's just a flat bonus you receive, and it's gonna stick with you through the entire game until you max out your attributes at 100, unless you play with some like I guess add-ons or other mods. Now what this bird sign does with the 25 endurance, it allows you to start with higher base HP, and you are going to receive the higher amount of HP per level due to the way endurance scaling works. And 25 personality is very irrelevant. It's not a very important attribute. Even if you wanna play character purely for personality, I don't think it's that strong or worth it at all. But the 25 point endurance is huge. And there is other attribute bird signs, but lady is by far the best of them. So I'm gonna put this in A tier. And now we're gonna talk about the Lord. Now the Lord gives you a spell that you can use. So it's not a power, you can use this multiple times a day. It's gonna cost you mana, and what it does, it gives you 2 points HP recovered per second for 30 seconds. So basically you can recover up to 60 HP with this bird sign. But it comes with a downside, and this downside is basically 100 points of weakness to fire. Now, fire is the most common damage type in the game. If you were going to be hit by a spell that will hit you for 10 damage, you're gonna receive 20 with this bird sign. If you also play Altmer, that's gonna go even higher, and you're gonna take even more fire damage. And the spell that you get for this trade-off is not worth it at all. Like, Lord is the worst bird sign in the game. Now we're gonna talk about Lover. So Lover gives you 25 points of agility and the power, so you can cast it one time per day. It can paralyze a target for 60 seconds on touch, and it will inflict 200 fatigue damage on yourself. Now this is okay. Like, paralysis for 60 seconds is very strong. It's enough time to kill pretty much anything in the game, except some bosses maybe. But paralysis is also resisted by a lot of enemies. So this power is nice, it's not super strong, but when it works is definitely broken. The agility that you receive flat, it increases your dodge chance a little bit, it will increase your hit chance a little bit. Is overall nice, but it's not super strong. So it has no downsides, and that's why it's gonna land in B tier. And now we have the Mage. Now Mage is one of the 3 bird signs that are pretty much, I guess, small bonuses with no trade-offs. That's gonna be Mage, the Thief, and the Warrior. So Mage is first, and what it does, it increases your magicka by 0.5. So before we talked about Atronach and the Apprentice. Atronach does 2.0, Apprentice 1.5, and Mage does a very weak 0.5. Now Mage comes without any trade-offs, but increasing your magicka from 100 to 150 is very weak by itself. So even though these two comes with trade-offs, they are both better by a large margin. So even though it has no downsides, because it has 2 better options and you're practically never going to run it, I'm gonna put this in C. Now Ritual is an interesting bird sign. It comes with 1 power and 2 spells. So the power is the ability to heal yourself for 100 HP instantly. There's no overtime like Lord, it's just 100 flat burst heal. That's very nice. You can use it 1 time per day, but it's very nice O-Sheet button. And the spells that come with it is Turn Undead. It's Turn Undead on touch and Turn Undead on target for a duration of 30 seconds, and the magnitude on that spell is 200. So basically it's gonna work on every undead in the game. But that is the problem with this spell, that it only works on undead. So all your skeletons, bone walkers, that type of stuff. And what that means is well, pretty much not a very strong effect. You will encounter pretty much just undead in like tombs in the game, but other than the tombs and some like few places in the game, undead is not that common overworld. You're mostly gonna be fighting either monsters like Adremoras, or maybe even like other races like Dunmers, Nords, etc. Now the heal is still nice. Oh wait, the magnitude of this spell is 100, not 200, so it's gonna have it's basically gonna work on enemies up to a 100 level, and there is no enemies in the game with a level higher than 100. To elaborate on this a little more, the level of your enemies can scale with you if you enable it in options. And the way this game works, if you don't use exploits or don't abuse the systems in the game to lower your attributes, you will never reach a level that high. You will never reach a 100 level unless you purposefully lower your attributes to level again by going to jail or just reducing them via spells. Now 100 health recovered instantly, nice effect once per day. You can also spam these turn undead for 10 or 5 mana respectively on target, on touch. And even though the effect is not very strong, it kind of works without delay, so enemies can still hit you like 2 times or cast a spell after they've been hit by this. It doesn't have any downsides. It's like a pretty nice if you wanna try something else. This is pretty unique. You can just pop this as your bird sign and go tomb hunting with this for some artifacts or like nice items. Now it's a pretty interesting bird sign, but sadly it's not that strong, so it's gonna belong either in B or C. And well, I think I'm gonna slap this in B for now. I'll consider moving it lower later. And now we're gonna talk about Serpent. So what Serpent does, it gives you just one spell, and a pretty weak spell at that. It allows you to hit your enemy with 3 points of poison on touch for 30 seconds. So on touch you have to be up close in the face of the enemy, and the poison that you inflict on them is gonna take 30 seconds to deal a total of 90 damage. And that is if the enemy doesn't resist the poison or doesn't have some inherent chances to lower the poison damage. But that's not the only effect. Along with this, you're gonna drain your own HP just for 1 point, but for 30 seconds. So you're gonna deal yourself 30 points of damage just to deal enemy 90 points of damage. Pretty weak. Nothing else about this bird sign, no flat attributes, no other spells, no other powers. Pretty shit. Going to the detail. Now, Shadow is another shitty bird sign. It only gives you a power of turning invisible for 60 seconds. And that in Morrowind is a very weak spell effect. Now invisibility is inferior to Chameleon because Chameleon allows you to basically continue your actions while having the chameleon effect on. And Shadow, the invisibility is gonna break when you perform an action. So if you leave a room, you try to pick up some item, steal something, your invisibility is gonna wear off, your crimes are going to be reported, and a guard is gonna chase you and demand gold from you, or just take you to jail if you can't pay or don't want to. Now, this is a power. You can only use it one time per 24 hours. That is extremely bad. There are spells in this game that you can learn the invisibility effect and just cast it whenever you want to. even though you shouldn't ever want to cast this spell unless you want to disengage from combat. It's very, very weak, so it's going to D tier as well. Now another is the Steed. So the Steed is just flat 25 points of speed. Now speed is another weak attribute. It only increases speed of your character a little bit because athletics is more relevant. There is also the issue with the weight of your character. So orcs are the fastest in the game, and I believe Bosmer female is the slowest. Now 25 speed is just okay, like it doesn't have any downside, but is pretty weak as an effect, so C tier. Now Thief. Thief gives you the Sanctuary 10 points. Now 10 points of Sanctuary basically means that on top of all your agility, after all calculations have been done, you're gonna receive plus 10% to dodge. So it's a nice bonus. It scales very well into the late game because, for example, like the agility that you would get from the lover that would also provide evade chance. Eventually you're gonna reach 100 in agility whether you have the lover or not, and at that point lover is no longer gonna provide any extra bonus. It only works in the early game at the start before your stats are maxed. Whereas this is going to apply basically until the end of the game, unless you cap Sanctuary at I believe it's 100 points. So you can have multiple spell effects, either cast a spell that gives you Sanctuary, or you can run some constant effects that will add up, because Sanctuary is one of these effects that add up. So it can add up to a total of 100, and going past 100 is not gonna provide any effect. But well, to have like 100 points of Sanctuary, either constantly or with a spell, is pretty big of a number. So this 10 is very nice. Like with this you're just gonna be harder to hit. It's nice bonus. I think it deserves B. Now Tower. Tower gives you 1 power and 1 spell. The power is open 50, and of course you can only, on touch, you can only use it 1 time per day since it's a power. So you're gonna learn open spells pretty fast in the game. I guess if you run like a warrior, or because if you run a thief you're gonna probably run security, even though thief gameplay is pretty weak in Morrowind in my opinion. Well as warrior. Of course mage is the most fun build in this game due to the way spells work and the customization of spells. Basically spell making allows you to make your own spells, your own effects. Well, you can't make your own effects, but you can use the existing ones in the game, and that will allow you to have a very fun experience in the game. So this open, either you can run it on your warrior character, because it can have pretty low chances of casting the open if it comes through normal spell, but that is still very weak, just 1 time per day. And then the spell that it gives you is detect animal key and enchant for 200 points. 200 points for 60 seconds. This will mark all keys, enchants and animals on your minimap. I basically never use this spell when I play Morrowind. And if you wanna use this, I guess you can use it, but the bonuses this Birthsigns provides are pretty slim to none in my opinion, so it's D tier again. Now Warrior gives you Fortify attack 10 points. So it's similar to Thief, only in reverse. Instead of being more likely to evade, you are more likely to hit your enemies with melee attacks or ranged attacks. And this is a nice bonus. There's not much to say about this. It scales well into the end game, but after you max your weapon skills, it's probably not going to be very relevant. So I'm gonna put this behind Thief. And now that we arrived here, we could mix some of these Birthsigns within a tier. So I think I'm gonna put Lady ahead of the Apprentice because of the unique endurance scaling, and Atronach just being better than Apprentice. Now the Lover and this. Yeah, I think that Lover is gonna be lower than these two, and Ritual is probably gonna be last. Now Steed still more relevant than the Mage. Now the Lord is obviously hands down the worst in the game, so it's gonna go here. Shadow is useless, this at least gives you some use, so this is gonna stay as second or first place. Well, this damages you, but it has its uses, I guess. I think this is the correct order. Okay. Yeah, I like this tier list. So, this is how I view the Birthsigns in Morrowind. In my opinion, the best game in the series so far. Tell me if you agree with this tier list in the comments, and have a good one.